Hi, Kelly Martinez here. I'm the owner of Fine Nest Realty Group, and I'm here to walk you through the process of purchasing your first home. Congratulations on making this big decision, and I hope you'll find this informative. Let's get started. The first step of the process is establishing a budget that you're comfortable with. I recommend using 30% of your total monthly income as a starting point. The next step is going to be saving for a down payment. You're going to want to make sure that you have at least 3 to 5% of the sale price that you're targeting based on your budget, because 3.5% is the minimum for an FHA loan, which FHA loans are great government-backed products that allow you to have a higher debt-to-income ratio and a lower credit score to get approved. If you're a veteran or any sort of military, you're going to be able to get a VA loan, which basically has a 0% down payment requirement. So again, these are things that will refine more once you start talking to a lender, but you certainly want to make sure that you have a decent amount of money in your savings before taking that next step. For step 4, you're going to want to make sure that you've collected all of your paperwork and have it prepared to turn into your lender. If you're a self-employed borrower, you're going to want to make sure that you have the last 2 years of tax returns and your bank statements. If you're a W-2 employee, you're going to want to have pay stubs and bank statements. It's highly likely that throughout the process, the lender is going to ask you for these documents to be updated a couple of times in the process. So don't get frustrated. Just know that this is a requirement because of 2008. They want to make sure that they're not issuing any loans to people who are not going to be able to afford them. The last thing you're going to want to do before you actually talk to a lender is get an idea of what your credit score is. You can use a site like Credit Karma, but if your score is reading that it is somewhere around the 620 mark or above, definitely just go ahead and get in touch with the lender, because they will be able to run your credit and determine what your lowest median score is, because that is the actual score that gets used when getting qualified to purchase a home. Now, the reason why I say 620 is because it is possible to purchase a home with a lower credit score. I believe it goes down to 580. However, there's a direct correlation between your credit score and the interest rate that you're going to get. And so anything below that 620 mark is going to be an incredibly high interest rate. So I suggest trying to get at least that 620 mark. Now, if you don't have any credit, one of the services that Fine Nest actually offers is that we help you through a program called Credit My Rent to establish credit. I've had someone with absolutely no credit at all jump to a 730 score just using that product. So if you have any questions about this, just reach out to us and we're happy to help. Now that you've determined the budget that you're comfortable with, saved for a down payment, collected your paperwork, and made sure that your credit score was at least at 620, you can finally talk to a lender. Now, at this step, you might want to ask your real estate agent to give you a recommendation for a lender partner that they work with. Kickbacks are definitely a RESPA violation, but I can tell you from our experience, the lender partners that we recommend are recommended to our clients because they're available on Sunday evening at 9 o'clock. Real estate doesn't sleep, so accessibility and great communication is incredibly important in this process. You'll definitely spend some time with the lender refining the budget and everything else that you kind of came up with on your own to prepare for this point, but you'll be able to obtain your pre-approval letter if everything looks good. You'll need that pre-approval letter to submit an offer, which is why we recommend that you talk to the lender at this point in the process. Next, if you haven't really determined where you want to live yet, try and get an idea so that once you talk to your realtor, you can give them a ballpark of things that you're interested in or that are requirements. Now, you may not know the exact city that you want to be living in, but if you can at least have an idea of what are your deal breakers and what are the things that are nice to have. You may have to do some adjusting to that criteria once you start kind of figuring out how much you've been approved for and what you can afford in certain areas, but that's why you have your realtor to help you guide you through the process. At this point in the process, you want to formally establish your relationship with your realtor in the form of a buyer-broker agreement. This agreement gives your realtor the ability to negotiate on your behalf. You'll also start being able to see properties with your realtor. Maybe you've been attending open houses, but with this agreement, your agent will be able to show you properties and hopefully find the one that you love. Now you're going to submit your offer. Now your realtor is going to help you write up this document. You'll want to review it, understand everything that it says because it is a legally binding document, and you'll want to go over it and submit it to the seller. Now, there are a couple of times during the transaction where you have to put money up front before settlement, and this is one of those cases. The earnest money deposit is basically a good faith amount saying that you are serious about purchasing the property. It typically is about 1% of the sale price, but that's something that you'll want to discuss with your realtor because depending on the market, a stronger or a higher earnest money deposit may win you the contract. After your offer is submitted and all parties agree to all terms, you'll have what's called a ratified sales contract. Now, nothing is final in real estate until it's in writing. So make sure that you get back this ratified contract with all initials and all signatures in place. This is definitely also the responsibility of your realtor to ensure that your paperwork is done correctly. After you have a ratified sales contract, your contingency period begins. Now that you have the ratified sales contract, the home inspection typically occurs within 7 to 10 days after contract ratification. Now, in a balanced market, home inspections are pretty typical. In the market that we're currently in, where there's just very, very limited inventory, a lot of people are waiving the home inspection in order to win. So there are different things that you can do to protect yourself. So this is what you want to discuss with your realtor so that you can come up with a game plan to protect yourself as much as you can. Now, if you're in a balanced market and you do have the opportunity to do a home inspection, you may also have the ability to negotiate for home inspection repairs, and that would occur at this point in time as well. Now, don't forget that there are a couple of times where money is due before settlement. The home inspection is another one of those cases. A typical home inspection is going to cost you anywhere from $500 to $750. And if you have to have a well or septic inspection, that's going to be in addition to this cost. So this is another time when you're going to want to be prepared to have money up front. Ordering the appraisal is the last time that you'll need funds prior to settlement. The cost of an appraisal is typically around $500, and the appraiser is a third party that's hired by your lender. Now, if the appraisal amount comes in low, meaning that the value of the property is not justified and therefore the bank is not willing to back the sale price, then you may have the ability to renegotiate the sale price before you go to closing. If you've waived your appraisal contingency, however, this is not going to be possible. At the same time, the title company is going to be checking for clear title, which means that there aren't any liens against the property for mechanics liens or IRS liens or any other debts that need to be paid by the seller prior to being able to sell the property with clear title to you, the new buyer. If you have not yet reviewed the HOA or condo docs associated with your property, in Virginia, you are allowed a 3-day review period with right to rescind, which means this may be your one and only opportunity if you have no other contingencies on how to void the contract. So for this reason, in this very limited inventory market where people are waiving contingencies, a lot of times the HOA docs will be reviewed and received within the first couple of days of ratification. However, in a typical market, sometimes people will wait until the end, and it typically can take up to 14 days for these to be delivered by the HOA or the condo association. So wherever it is in the process, you have a 3-day right to review period. And if there's anything in there that you don't like, or if you just like to void the contract for no reason at all, this is your opportunity to do it and get your earnest money deposit back. At this point in time, towards the end of the contract, within 7 days of settlement, usually you're going to get the information for the utilities, and you'll want to transfer those utilities as of the date of settlement. All right, we are in the home stretch. Now it's time for a final walkthrough. Basically, you're going to do a final walkthrough of the property to ensure that the house is in equal or better condition as it was when you wrote your contract or when you first saw the property, whatever date is defined in the sales contract. Next, you're going to go to settlements, where you are going to sign a bunch of paperwork that essentially says, if you don't pay, you don't get to stay. So that typically takes about 30 to 60 minutes, give or take. It usually occurs at the title company's office. Sometimes they'll have you sign with a notary in another location. It just kind of depends on, where the house is located, where the title company is located, all that stuff. So it's flexible, but it's the final process and the final step before the house officially becomes yours. In the state of Virginia, the deed will be filed sometime after. Typically, they have up to 48 hours to file that deed and make everything official. And then our favorite part, you guys get to live happily ever after in your new home. I hope that this brief synopsis of the process helps you. And if you have any additional questions, please feel free to reach out to us. I'm sure that if you found this, you can find our information. Just go to finenestrorealty.com and you can find our contact information on there. Thanks so much. Best of luck. Peace.